You're listening to another ambitious entrepreneur.network.com podcast, the voice for entrepreneurs and small business. Now, onto the show.
Welcome to the Christian Entrepreneurs Podcast, daily conversations with Christian entrepreneurs to inspire and empower Christian business owners to walk strongly in their faith, while build a thriving business that honors Him in every way. Now, over to your host, Anne-Marie Cross.
And welcome to another episode of the Christian Entrepreneurs Podcast. This is episode 4. I'm your host, Anne-Marie Cross, brand and communication strategist, also known as the podcasting queen. Sadly, women have often been taught to silence their voices, and my guest today skillfully tackles this issue by providing amazing tools to help women find their voice and get comfortable using it. Joining me on today's show is Sandra Kemayou. She's a best-selling author. She's an articulate and innovative leader who's driven and dedicated. Sandra has earned a BA in criminal justice from the University of Maryland, College Park, and an MS degree in psychology from Hood College, Frederick, Maryland. She's a purposeful and intentional visionary. She's a skillful communicator and strategist. She's mission-driven and focus-driven, and she demonstrates a natural and uncanny ability to tap into the innate and limitless potential of women from both a professional and personal perspective. Now, her success in the field of business coaching is a well-known reality to those that she has helped to successfully reposition and restructure their entrepreneurial ventures. She's a sought-after business coach and process guru, conference speaker, author, retreat planner and facilitator, change agent, and a passionate torchbearer of the business of you. Now, on today's show, Sandra's going to share that nothing good comes out of hiding, and also what we must start to do to choose to bet on so that we can share our light with the world. She'll also be talking about that your business is only as healthy as you are, as well as God is the greatest strategist, and I'm sure she's going to share how we can tap into His wisdom and support and so much more. So welcome to the show, Sandra.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. Wow, that's just such an impressive background, and what an absolute pleasure it is that you are holding the torch for other women and supporting them in sharing their voice. How sad it is that many women who have really got a message that's been placed on their heart to share with the world, to support others, but are not speaking up because of some beliefs or just being told, hey, you don't have anything worthy to share. Isn't that sad?
That's super sad. That breaks my heart. And I was that girl, right? I was that girl. And so I speak from a space of experience, really. And I really know what it feels like to feel like you are gifted, but not trusting in your gift.
Yeah. So what happened to you? Take us back to, perhaps there was a number of different things that happened that supported you to the point that you got to a stage that thought, hang on a minute, is what I'm saying to myself that you haven't got anything worthy to share or to support you in getting out there and really sharing your gifts? What happened that changed that for you, that had you start to think, hang on a minute, is that true?
It was I started hiding at a very young age because I felt, and I talk about this in the book, I felt that my voice was not needed. I felt that I was wrong. And it started because my father, I'm originally from Cameroon, which is right next to Nigeria. And he was a medical doctor, still is running the best hospital in Cameroon right now. And his dream for me was set from the moment he heard I was going to come to the world. And that dream was that I was going to be a doctor and I was going to come and take over his clinic. Yes. That was the dream. That was the goal. That was the plan. Unfortunately, the medical field was just not it for me. Like I just knew it wasn't my calling. And I didn't know how to articulate that as a child, But I could tell how disappointed my dad was anytime I would say, I don't think I really want to be a doctor. So what I learned then was being myself was disappointing somebody else. And all I ever wanted to be was daddy's little girl.
Yes.
And so that's where I learned how to hide. And I did that very well. Like, because part of my calling is to help other people grow their business, find their purpose, and walk in it. And so you don't have to be the star. You don't have to stand in the light to do that. You can do that very comfortably while hiding. And so I had taken my place as the CEO of the hiding club. And I was very comfortable there. I will have meetings, and those meetings will be about, no, you go ahead and do that. I have a great idea, but you, Anne-Marie, you go ahead and do that because you can do that. And I was a cheerleader for everyone except me. So to answer your question, last April, I put together women's retreats and conferences every year. And last April, I had my women's retreat in Utah, here in the US. And on the last day, we go around, we are all dressed up. We've gone through a transformation. We've had a powerful encounter with God. And so I asked the lady, what is your vow to yourself? And they go around the room and everybody shared. And I never asked anyone at my retreat to do something I'm not willing to do. And so I then stood up and said, I wasn't expecting for the answers from the lady to be so deep. And it caught me off guard. And I felt that it was time for me to be honest and be truthful and go after something that I really believed in. And I said to them that day, ladies, this time next year, I would have written my book. And I remember that, and they were recording it, and so I couldn't even get out of it because we have recording. And I left Utah and the mountain truly transformed and ready to go on this journey, whatever that journey was. And I think the biggest thing for me was, and I know our audience is Christians, the biggest aha moment for me was asking God, I know you've trusted me with gifts, and I know that you care about what I produce with those gifts, but do you care about me? Like if I never wanted to do a retreat, I never want to consult anybody else. Do you care about me outside of what I can produce to the world? And he whispered in a way that I'm sure you've heard him whisper sometimes, and I'm sure your audience has. And he said, I died for you. Even if you never host another retreat and never said an encouraging word, I would have still died for you. That was the most freeing moment of my life. Because then I could go about finding out the business of me and finally standing in the light.
Yeah. That is just so amazing, because how often do we unintentionally put barriers so high on ourselves, whether we think that from our Father in heaven or our earthly father, whereas they don't put those high limits on ourselves. It's self-imposed, and it's not until we take a step back and realize that, hang on a minute, this is what I'm saying to myself, and it's not true. Because let me just back up a little bit. For you saying that your father was disappointed, sure, he may have had some dreams that you would become a doctor, but I'm sure, and you may have already had this conversation with him, for him to see his daughter, who he loves dearly, in work and in a role that is truly feeding your heart, your soul, your passion, your calling in helping others, and seeing that that is making you feel so fulfilled, or having you be so fulfilled, I'm sure that just thrills him, yes?
I believe so. And I never, till this very moment, I'm having chills, because I never, when you said your earthly father and, and God,
Heavenly Father,
and
yes,
how I saw it in my mind, I never got it till this very second, that because I felt that my father's love was conditional, I also felt that God's love was conditional. Never got it until you compared it. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And we know, and as you've just so beautifully reminded us, God loved us first, that he gave his only begotten son. And so there are no conditions on his love. He doesn't have a checklist to say, now, Sandra, Anne-Marie, or whoever's listening, you need to do this and this and this before I love you. That is given. That is a gift that is, here to each and every one of us. And thank goodness, thank God that you had that transformation and you recognize that, because now you've got this incredible book. And I believe you've written two now. You've written two books.
The first one, yes. The first one was a guide to creating wild retreats, because when I first started planning retreats, I couldn't find any information online. Not the Christian transformational retreats I was after. I just couldn't. And so after 5 years of putting retreats together, I decided, let me put out a guide that will help conference leaders, church leaders, and retreat leaders. How do we put a retreat together in a way that helps and doesn't hurt? Because I think that I have personally 10 years of experience in the mental health field, and I've seen what happens when you put lives in people's hands that may not be trained to handle them. And so we go and open up wounds that we're not ready, or we don't know equipped, or we're not equipped to close or handle or refer. And so I really, really wanted my first book to be about that. So yes, I've written two books.
And then, of course, the other book you've mentioned earlier is all about the business of you. What I want to just reflect for people today listening is that once you recognize that calling, if you will, to write that book, you had gifts, expertise, and experience right then and there. You didn't need to go out and learn more things. I mean, how often do we put barriers on ourselves too? I'll need to do this. I'll be ready when I know this. It was there. There was a need. You recognize that need, and you harness those gifts and talents, and we're able to write that book. And from doing that and having the faith that, hey, this is what needs to be out there, you've then now gone and written another book. Sometimes it's just through recognizing. So tell us, you wrote that first book. What then prompted you to write that second book? Was it again similar, that you recognized there were gaps in the market, or perhaps there were things that your ideal clients or existing clients were sharing that they missed and they needed additional support for? What kind of was that process?
That's an amazing question. The first book, so I'm very process-oriented business strategist. It's all about strategy and process and understanding that. My first book, I wanted something that I already knew, that was easy, a guide. That's just how my mind works, steps. And so, but I really wanted to see the process of writing a book with a topic that I felt comfortable, and I didn't feel like I had to get naked.
Yeah.
The second book was such a journey of self-discovery that I did not want that to also be the first time I go through a process of self-publishing. So that's kind of how my mind was. Let me start with what's attainable, what's easy. And then I always knew that, not the real book, but I always knew that the harder book to write would be this. I always. So I wanted to start with what I knew I could get, and let me see what the process looks like.
Yeah, amazing. So if someone is listening today and she recognizes similarities in what you've shared, where she's, hiding her voice, and maybe even a man, men and women are listening to and watching this show, what would you say to them? What are some insights you'd like to share for them to support them in taking that step forward and just really knowing and trusting that they do have a voice? And God wants them to go out there and share that if they really do feel called to do so.
That's such a good question. Nothing good happens while you hide. And you might, like I have a fan club of people that are comfortable with you playing at 50%. You might have a master's degree, be a mother, be at the head of a company. But if you're saying no, if you're saying yes when you mean no, if you are not speaking up, if you are unable to live to that 100% potential, if you're not tapping into your gifts, then here's the thing. Here is the bottom line for me was God is going to ask you about those gifts and the lives, and more importantly, the lives that are attached to your obedience. It's true. It's scary. It's literally a leap of faith. And I know we can get comfortable, and it's not a thing that you ever arrive to. So last year I took the big leap But this year, there's another mountain. There's another thing that I need to do that will make me uncomfortable. That will make, I'm like, oh, you thought you were public. You thought that you had stopped hiding. But so quickly, we get so comfortable in our routine and set in our ways. And we hear that knocking from God saying, hey, I need you to do more. It's really about the lives that you will impact with your ministry. And your ministry is tied to your gifts. That's what it boils down to. I think sometimes we complicate it when we talk about business. People get confused about it. I like to tell my clients, a business is just a house for your gifts, a legal entity to house your gifts. And you have those gifts to impact you first. See, my gift, going public, saved me. It healed me. It changed me, you know? And so the light was really for me. And when God says, I need you to go here, it's really for our own good. And I love when they say, let people drink from your cup, from your overflow. And so this going public is not this thing of sacrificing yourself for the greater good, but it's really putting yourself first so that your light will shine and other people will be able to benefit from it. Your life depends on it. And by life, I mean living this fulfilled life where you feel like you're contributing. And it doesn't have to look like mine. You don't have to write a book. You don't have to have your own podcast. It could look very differently. Maybe you want to go back to school. Maybe you need to make that difficult phone call and make peace with your father or have that difficult conversation with him. Hiding comes in so many shapes and forms, but you know what it is. And I will encourage every one of us to pray about it and become diligent about no longer hiding. God, take me where you would take me. Let me speak to the people that I need to speak to. Let me find the people I'm assigned to. And even when I'm scared, I want dreams that require me to have faith. That's the type of dream, because for too long, my dreams were so small.
Yes. Well, wonderful. And some great insights, certainly, to support others. And so agree. You know, think there are things that in our life that we may definitely need healing and support and growth to overcome those challenges. And we are never alone. And I'm sure you would have prayed or journaled, all of those things that really help to grow. And now you can support others. And so often there's a saying, and I'm sure there are many different stories in the Bible too, but, you know, often we climb the mountain and we are at the forefront of that mountain to help others climb that, you know, that follow us. And what a great way to be able to empower and inspire others. Let's talk a bit about your business is only as healthy as you are. Talk a little bit more about this. Why is this so important?
I think, and I don't know how it is in Australia, but here in the US, there's a thing about, especially this pressure with women, to be a different person when you walk into a boardroom. So let me back up and give you a little bit of background. I'm a business analyst and I consult for a billion dollar company, and very few women of color in a lot of those boardrooms. And the challenge becomes, can you stand in the light and be who you really are while running your business or while being in those rooms? And the truth of the matter is you take you wherever you go. And the challenge a lot of people have is trying to figure out, how do I leave myself home and become this other person? And then I can go public. Let me polish a little bit. Let me forget about the abuse. Let me forget that my husband is beating me all night. And let me just kind of go and become this new person. But the truth of the matter is self-sabotaging is real. And I talk about it in the book, that you can make all the money in the world. But if you have some underlying issues that causes you to self-sabotage, you will lose all of the money in the world. So when I get new clients, we always talk about the person as a whole person. What's happening at home is affecting your business, whether you know it or not. It is truly affecting your business because you are one person. Your relationship with God or your lack of relationship with God is affecting. I know for me, if I go without spending time with God for 2 weeks, you can tell. My kids can tell, my husband can tell, my clients can tell, right? Because you can't separate and say, well, I'm this person on Sunday, but this person on Wednesday. So really it's to encourage people to look at their life as a whole package. You are one person. And so yes, your business is only as healthy as you are.
Yes. And I think that really just emphasizes the importance of recognizing all facets of our life. Absolutely, faith and spending time with God is key. It's central. And then also, too, you look at the physical aspects and, your wealth. All of that is so important. If one area in your life is struggling, it will impact other areas of your life as well. And I think trying to be someone else that you're not showing up, I mean, that is just, how hard is it to try and put on a mask and keep that mask on? And it's almost like not giving yourself permission to be the best you, and to show up. And I'm a huge advocate for recognize the gifts and the talents, show up as you, and, be the best version of you all of the time. And of course, as you know, through prayer and committing yourself, a lot of the struggles that people have just disappear because you've got this. God's got you in his hands, and together you can do incredible things. And that leads us to the next point that you want to share. God is the greatest strategist. Tell more about that, and how are you leveraging that in your business?
So that's my secret weapon, okay? I don't share it except with my people in Australia and your viewers watching. But he is really the most amazing strategist because he knew me before I was born and made no mistake. When I started my journey, this journey towards right now, I told God, I said, well, look, I have a lot of habits that supported my past life. And I just don't know that I can commit, because I had commitment issues. Because I'll be like, you want to start a podcast? Let me help you with that. You want to start it? Let me help you. So my concern was I didn't want to give up like I had given up in the past on things so easily. And he said to me, if you will give me your mornings, I will change your life. And I was like, what does that mean? He said, I need you to start working out. I was like, okay, look, I'm asking you about my millions. I'm asking you about my ideal clients. I'm asking you about this book I'm going to write. And you saying I need to work out? I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder. And he said, I will teach you strategies during our workout. And it's been a year and a half. I don't run, none of that. I walk. Okay, start where you are with what you have. The point was me seeing myself as somebody that does what she says she's going to do. Right? On Monday, I wake up, whether I like it or not, whether it's cold or not, I'm going to put my tennis shoes and I'm going to have my appointment with God, and we're going to walk. And he's going to use the trees, and he's going to share so many amazing things. That was our thing. That's what changed everything. Literally, seeing myself after a month, like, girl, wait a minute. You've been walking for a month. Look at you. A year. So I would say to people watching, you might have a huge dream. My goal is to empower 10 million women around the globe to move into action so they can be propelled into destiny. Yeah. That's a huge goal. That's a scary goal. Until 2 months ago, I couldn't even say it out loud because it sounded so crazy. And so sometimes our goals and our dreams and our, is so big. How do you start? We have an African saying that says, how do you eat an elephant? You eat it one bite at a time. That's what I want to encourage your viewers to do. And that's what we talk about when we do consulting and strategy. What are the baby steps? What can you do today with what you have and where you are that can change everything? And so whether it's reading one book a week, it sounds overwhelming until you realize it's 200 pages. You divide that by 5 or by 4. Oh, it means I can do 20 pages in the morning and 20 pages in the evening. I'll read a book a week. Oh, I'm a reader now. So when you break it down into baby steps, I think we can achieve so much more than staying very high level with, I'm going to change the world.
Yeah.
One step today.
That what you've just shared, I think, is such a great principle for us to be able to use across all aspects of our business. I mean, and it says in the Bible, we really need to give control over to God. And that is an area for me, and I'm sure for you too, and many ambitious business owners, that whole control and having a plan and all that. I mean, that's really important for us. But it's being able to trust and in trust that, the path that we take. I mean, obviously we need to take the right action steps, but just having trust in that the vision and the mission that we set in alignment with what God wants for us is just going to be there. We just need to take that step. And sometimes when we think too big, like I'm sure if you thought a year ahead in your walking regime, in your exercise regime, it would have been too overwhelming. But if you think today is Monday, whatever day it is, today I'm going to go out and I'm going to walk. And then the next day and the next day. And before you know it, you've walked a month. You've walked 2 months. And I think when we start to look at it that way, it doesn't become so big and overwhelming that we become overwhelmed. Have you found that to be true as you're starting to embark on any project?
100%. For me, who's my job is providing roadmap, 12 months, 18 months for clients, it's such an interesting balance because I have to be very high level, but also very tactical. And so if you saw my room over the last 2 weeks planning out for the year, it's hilarious. I think my whole wall, like you literally be like, you're losing your mind. But that's how my mind processes. So the big goals, and then I'm like, okay, then let's break it down so it's not as overwhelming, but always leaving room for the Holy Spirit and for God to do his work. I remember, I think it was a month ago now, where somebody I follow on social media, he's very well known in Dallas. He's a fashion stylist, and I've always followed him. He dresses a lot of the Christian, I don't want to say stars, but the Christian people in our area. And I've always wanted, to work with him. And so he posted on social media that he was having an event and he was looking for a business strategist. And he has about 20,000 followers, I think 22,000 followers. Yeah. And so I was like, should I even send a message? It's 22,000 followers. There's so many business strategists out there. And something in me, I believe the Holy Spirit was like, send a message. So I sent a message and he replied. And he said, I think he asked, are you in Dallas? And I said, yes, I am. And I said to him, let's schedule a time and let me figure out what you really need for your event. He never got back to me. I texted back, never got back to me. And so I said, oh, what am I going to do? And I told my husband, I said, I really want to speak at his event. It was on Saturday. This was on a Monday. And my husband was like, well, okay, go pray about it. And the Holy Spirit told me, get ready because you're going to speak there. Now, I want you to understand, 20,000 followers, so many business strategies. I was like, okay, God, look, let's keep it real. I don't see how, but all right, I'm going to go to sleep and I'm going to leave it alone. And on Wednesday, 2 days later, my husband comes in and he says to me, hey, we need to go to the studio. My husband is a professional photographer and he owns a studio downtown. I'm like, look, it's 7 p.m. I'm tired. He said, you won't believe who is at the studio. And he says, it's the person that I sent a message to. I'm like, what do you mean? He said he needed a place for a photo shoot. He's at the studio. Let's go. I'm like, you don't have to tell me twice. I get in our studio. He's there. He's doing what he needs to do. At the end of the shoot, he comes and shakes my hand and says, nice meeting you. I said, nice meeting you. How are you? He said, he's good. I said, hey, I sent you a message on Monday about your event. He's like, there's no way. Are you kidding me? I said, yes. And he said, give me your 30-second thing. What are you about? Who are you? And I pull out my book and I said, I am all about taking people from hiding into the light. I change lives with my story and I provide business strategy. That's who I am. I am a sister keeper. He said, got it. I see you on Saturday.
Oh, wow.
So there are places and times where even the best strategy and even the best book and even the smartest person still needs to rely on God, and he opens up doors. Like me talking to you in Australia. I had no idea until 5 minutes ago when you told me. I would have probably been freaking out if I knew.
Well, that's why you probably didn't realize.
I had no idea where God will literally open up doors when you are walking, waking up every morning, going out on that walk, doing one thing at a time, just following his lead, and being willing to be that light. He will open up doors.
Yes, he will. He certainly will. And what an incredible opportunity for you. So you have now spoken at that event?
Yes, it was great. It was amazing. Had some amazing people there. It was great. It was a month ago.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
It really is amazing. That's right. I mean, we can set our plans and have, our step by step and things that we need to do and the actions that we need to set. And it is so important to leave room for God to show up and just elevate things to a level that we just could not achieve on our own, for sure, which is wonderful. So thank you so much for sharing that. Share with us, Sandra, how can people get in contact with you? How can they find out more information about the work that you do?
Thank you. Definitely on my website. It's my first and last name.com. So that's SandraKemayou.com. And you'll find links to my Facebook, Instagram, everything. That's like the hub. That's where everything stays.
Yeah.
And if you need a consultation, and we're a global company as well, then the information is on there as well.
Yeah, and of course we'll put all of Sandra's details on the show notes, and if you are listening to the audio podcast, all you need to do is go to this link, ambitiousentrepreneurnetwork.com/TCE04, ambitiousentrepreneurnetwork.com/TCE04. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Sandra. It's been an absolute delight.
Thank you so much, Anne-Marie. You've been so amazing. And if I can share with your audience, your planning and like it shows, I've been on so many podcasts, so many shows, but you have the best. Like I love the questions that you sent in, and it was so organized, and I knew what your expectation was.
Yes.
I mean, amazing. I don't know if it's an Australian thing, but it was, I was like, look, that's what I'm talking about. That's the process. She has a process on how to do this. And it's so great. And you've been so amazing. Thank you so much for being so gracious.
Oh, thank you so much. And yes, that process I put together myself because like anything, and you would know this yourself, to have a streamlined process, you need to put systems in place, and it's just allows everybody to know what's going on. And I actually teach that to my clients now too. So to help them become more streamlined in their processes as well. So thank you. Now, before we go, if one of you have been listening today to this podcast, I know that you've been inspired and blessed through listening to Sandra share. One of the goals that you might have for this year is to take your message, get out of hiding and start to share your message, maybe with a podcast. And if you don't know where to start, the ins and outs, one of the things I put together, it's a free mini training. I position you with the pre and the post, let's call it the workflow, the things that I do, the step-by-step, as well as the tools that I use. And some of those are free and no cost and low cost tools to get you started. If you want to access that mini training, all you need to do is go to annemariecross.com/mini training, annemariecross.com/mini training. You can get access to all of that. Sandra, before we go, may I say a quick word of prayer for you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Dear Father in heaven, thank you for the time that we've been able to spend together with Sandra. We thank you so much that you supported her in coming out of hiding and sharing her message, sharing a message that is so important for many women who may be hiding themselves and not thinking that their voice, their calling, their gifts are something to be heard. But we know that you have got so much in store for them, and they just need to step out in faith and in trust. We pray that you'll continue to bless Sandra's business as she supports women globally, the workshops, the trainings, everything. We ask that you will bless her, that you will guide her in this year and her family as well. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you so much, Sandra. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on the show. And of course, we look forward to sharing this message and your message with the world as well.
Thank you. Have a great Sunday here. I don't know.
It's a Monday. We are a day ahead. I am calling in from your future, and it's going to be it's a fantastic Monday.
Oh my God, that could be a title for a book. I'm calling you from your future.
Yes.
Oh, love that. Awesome. Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Christian Entrepreneurs Podcast, brought to you by BeTheDifferenceMovement.com. Changing the world one message at a time. Do you feel called to influence real change with your message? Join our supportive community of like-minded influencers, thought leaders, and disruptors at www.BeTheDifferenceMovement.com. That's BeTheDifferenceMovement.com.